Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special Only Stupid Answers, because Roxy and I wanted to talk about Miss Marvel, and we had to wait till now to do it. So this is dropping whenever we're allowed to do it. I'm DJ Wooldridge. That's Roxy Stryer. Hi, Roxy.
This is one of the first times in months, DJ, that you and I have both been very adamant about wanting to talk about something.
I think that might be true. That might be true. Yeah. So we've got the screeners, what, a week ago now? This is spoiler free, so it's fortunate that I don't need to have all the details in front of me.
Right.
This is Miss Marvel. We're talking about Miss Marvel. The synopsis on IMDb says a New Jersey-raised Kamala Khan learns she has polymorphous powers, which is not true. That's the power she has in the comics, not the power she has in the show. Anyway, and it was created by Bisha K. Ali, who worked on Sex Education, which is a show I know you like, Roxy, and Loki.
Love, yeah. DJ. Love.
Well, it's one of those, this happens with me. Sometimes I'll see a show, I'm like, I'm not liking the show. And then I see the showrunner and I see the other stuff they did, and I'm like, that tracks. This is one of those where I haven't watched Sex Education, but I know what you've said about it. And so when I saw Sex Education, I'm like, okay, it makes sense now. I might need to go check out that show, because this show's really good. And I think the first episodes are directed by, forgive me if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, Adil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah, who directed Bad Boys for Life. I mistakenly thought they had worked on episodes of Moon Knight. They had not. They worked on this show, and they do a really, really good job on this show. But let's just dive in, Roxy. We're keeping it spoiler-free because this is going up before the show airs. Roxy, spoiler-free thoughts, Miss Marvel.
Right. So I've seen episode 1 and 2 of Miss Marvel, and I am really looking forward to seeing more episodes of Miss Marvel. I think that this show is super duper not for me, not for DJ. This show reads very young to me, and yet it was one of the more enjoyable shows to me. Yeah. And I think that that's a sign of a very good show. It kind of reminded me tonally of the Mindy Kaling produced show Never Have I Ever on Netflix, where it is very much so a coming of age show first. And we are talking about characters that are a little awkward and endearing and are navigating their way through life. And it just so happens that we are in the world of superheroes existing. Yeah. So I love that it is a good show, a solid show without the superhero elements. And then with that added in, it's even more fun. If I had a nephew or a niece or a son or a daughter or kids that I had that were, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I would be so yoked to show them this show. Just absolutely so excited, because I feel like it is a really good introduction to superheroes. Yes. They do it in a way that you don't need to have watched 5,000 other things. You don't need to see all the MCU movies and every other Disney Plus show. You can just watch the show and really fall in love with Miss Marvel and enjoy yourself. And I think that is a great reopening introduction for some people. And then, of course, there are some more mature themes. We've got some things that are more high school daring party scenes kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, I see what you guys are doing. You're kind of easing us in. It looked really cool. I didn't mind the power shift like other people did. And in general, I definitely recommend this one.
100% co-sign all of that. I want to shout out to Iman Vellani, who plays Kamala Khan, who's great, but the whole cast, we got Matt Lintz as Bruno, Yasmin Fletcher, everybody on the show is doing a great job. And I was aware of the character. She's obviously been a very popular character, but I hadn't read her comics. I didn't really have any of that. And so I didn't know how I was going to feel. And then immediately there's an opening sequence that not only tells you a lot about, updates you on hey, here's if you've never watched a Marvel thing, here's the world you're in. But it also says a lot about Kamala's character and how she views that stuff. And it's so cool. It's so stylish and cool. And it's not forced. It's not like we're trying to be forcing quirkiness in there. It just is what it is. And there's so many little stylish touches, and it does all the I don't know how you felt about this, Roxy, because I feel like you watch so many shows that I feel like you probably touch on shows that touch on similar material more than I do. But I thought the way it hit all like the high school tropes did it in just left of center. Like, hey, you've seen the counselor before, but here's our version of it, and he's fun and lovable.
The counselor is awesome on the show. I was like, that's a different take too. So, and we all know, and I think because DJ, you liked him too.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's because I am struggling to relate to Gen Z sometimes. And like, we are now in positions where sometimes I am a boss to somebody in Gen Z, or I'm dealing with somebody in Gen Z. And it's like, I'm like trying to be cool, level with me here, you know? And I just felt like it was such a realistic take on somebody of our gen dealing with somebody of her gen.
Yep.
And just trying to figure it out. Like, just be a human with me. What's going on? You know? And I thought that was so new and refreshing, as opposed to the counselor who's a just jerk, or the counselor who's like, just not relatable and sultry sweet. You know, we've seen that, but I haven't seen this like, hello, I'm a person too. Just talk to me. You know, that was great. And
I think you relating it to our generation trying to relate to their generation is an incredibly good point, and probably a reason why we both liked him so much. There's a scene, I won't say what happens in it, but there's a scene where he's talking to a character. He's like, hey, there's actually not anything you need to debate here. This is a really good thing that's happening to you. So there's not really, I don't know why you're questioning it right now. You're the main character here. This is your chosen one moment. Take it. Right.
Just do it. And, but then, you know, like that, the head scratching moment of like, where are we disconnecting on this? Why can't we see eye to eye? And I just love that. But there's a lot of moments like that in here where I feel like, even though this is not necessarily for our age demo, they are giving certain nods to us. Like, we know that you might be watching. So here's a couple of different things for you. And also, like, I feel like it is more realistic for more people than something like a Euphoria, which I absolutely love that show. Yeah. But these are actually, they take place in similar age groups, and they could not be more vastly different shows. And a lot of people have more similar life experience to Miss Marvel, not the superhero elements of it, but like to that awkward, uncomfortable, don't know how to maneuver or talk to people, than a Euphoria where it's like sex and drugs and dirty money, like the whole thing. So while I feel like Euphoria, it does do a spot on job showing that light, there is a different world, and the Euphoria world's a lot like sexier and raunchier. So we see that on TV nonstop. We don't get to see the Miss Marvel like navigating crushes and like how to do it all, and just even, you know, I think about growing up, I was obsessed with like Jasmine, right? From Jasmine and Aladdin. And I'm obsessed with, I love Disney princesses. I just loved them. And if they had been in real life, like the way that I would have journaled about them and talked about them and tried to emulate them and, you know, stop, mom, you're killing it for me, whatever. This just feels like what if you're a kid growing up with superheroes, this is what you'd be like.
Hello, is this an ad? Not really. I just wanted to take a second to let you know about my new comic, HELLBENT Volume 2, which is coming to Kickstarter a week from now, Tuesday, June 14th. It is great, and I don't want you to miss out. It is full of irreverent, supernatural action. So if you're into comics like Something is Killing Children, or Preacher, or The Sandman, you're gonna love it. If you loved HELLBENT Volume 1, you're gonna love it even more. We are really proud of this. So please, do yourself a favor and go to hellbentcomicbook.com and sign up to the pre-launch page so you can be notified the second the campaign goes live. Why? Because we're going to have some very cool launch exclusives. Not only some early bird tiers that are at a discounted price, but an exclusive tarot card that will be part of every physical reward tier, but only during launch. So please go over to hellbentcomicbook.com and check it out. All right, back to the show. I will say the only nitpick I would have is that I'm not entirely sure how public a figure Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, is in this universe, but it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant to.
I hear you.
Was she around? Was she like saving lives? We know she was around post blip, but was she like on Earth doing stuff? Doesn't matter. Who cares?
Yeah. It's just super cute. The whole show is cute.
It's cute, and I think going back to the counselor thing and what you were touching on there, I also think it's an example of none of the characters really feel like stock characters. They feel like people with perspectives and opinions. And as somebody, to your point with the Euphoria thing, as somebody that did grow up in a more conservative religious community, not the same one, it's like I relate to like, well, I'm not allowed to drink and I'm not allowed to do these and I'm not allowed. He's like, yeah, I feel you. I grew up not the same, but in a similar environment. But like, and the parents are obstacles, but they're not like antagonists. Like it's just, again, that kind of disconnect.
When you think of your parents as like a nuisance, not as the devil.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah, it's really, really cute. And actually, I tweeted out about the show being cute, and a lot of people were like, so is it good or bad? And I was like, wow, does cute sound bad?
Yeah.
Because I said more than that. It's not. I don't think in any way, shape, or form is this show bad. I think it's a good show.
Yeah.
But more than that, I was trying to describe the tone of it, which is like sweet, endearing, cute. And I think that it might struggle to find its footing among critics.
Oh, no. It's so good.
You know, like the people who are reviewing this show should be like 13 years old, you know, and not because it's not good enough for us, but because a lot of people were like, well, if I liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier and I liked Loki, am I going to like this?
Not the same. It's not
and
the same.
I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I liked one of those shows too, but I can't. There's no connect. I have no idea. There's no through line there. So I'm slightly nervous that people are not going to review it as well. But then again, there's a lot of critics who have kids and who can see things just very objectively. So maybe it will. But like this is super duper not like the other Disney Plus shows, and it's not supposed to be like them.
Yeah, and I hope the response is good because despite the tone or the demographic or whatever, I hope people respond to. And this is truly not meant as a diss on any of those shows. This does feel like the most confident of the Disney Plus shows so far. It's like, well, we know the story we're telling. We know why we're telling it. It's not just like, hey, we have this IP. Now what? It's like, no, this is, and almost it feels weird to compare because they're so tonally vastly different. But it kind of reminds me of the Marvel Netflix shows, where it just felt like it's like we know what we're trying to do here. But the cool thing, and it doesn't, like those shows, it doesn't need to directly connect to the main stuff, but it's cool that it will. Like we have a connection here we have a question here in the Discord. I've already answered some of these. Christoph628 asks, how much prior MCU knowledge should one have to understand Ms. Marvel fully? I have younger cousins who might be into it. I want them prepped. I would say you don't need any. I think you can just go in cold.
Yeah, I think there will be references that are a little more fun for you if you do have certain knowledge.
Yes.
Like we'll be comparing a couple of different characters or heroes or something, but I think you could have legitimately zero and understand the entire story.
Absolutely. And then speaking of the connection, Jake Hefner asks, does this show make you excited for the Marvels movie? And I did not hate Captain Marvel. I think Brie Larson's an excellent actress. But yeah, this has me like way more. For
a woman, she's okay.
No, I didn't. Obviously not that. I think all across the board, she's very good.
No, it's just a joke that only I can make and you cannot, sir. So I put it in there.
Yes.
No, I know. I remember us talking about it, and you think that she is good. You didn't love the movie.
I didn't hate them. I know some people like really didn't like it. I thought it was. It's not like my least favorite MCU movie. I thought it was fine. That said, knowing not just that Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan will show up in it, but also Monica Rambeau from WandaVision. It's like, yeah, I'm actually really amped for the Marvels now because I'm very excited to see Brie Larson's character interact with those characters. That seems really cool to me.
Yeah, that does seem fun. You know, I hadn't even really thought about it much because this show does feel so standalone, even though it's like weird because the entire show is based off it not being standalone and an obsession with, but you know, when you bring it up, does this make me more excited? If it's yes or no, then definitely yes.
Yeah. Last question, Leonard Kim. Did you find the changes to Ms. Marvel's powers were the right decision? I have no idea what her original powers are supposed to be, but based on the trailers, her powers look awesome. I had not read the comics. I think her powers look cool. I did go back and start reading the comics, so I do understand why fans of the original comic might be bummed because of the way the powers are utilized in the comic. That said, The characterization is spot on. Her friends seem spot on. The storytelling, it feels very close to those original comics. So I feel like you might not love the power change, but everything else feels like if I were a fan of this, it's like I'd be a fan of this.
What is her original power?
They're stretchy powers, like Mr. Fantastic, except more like her fist. Like, so there are a couple of scenes where her.
Yeah. Did you not feel like we saw a little bit of that?
A little bit of that, but there's stuff like where she makes platforms that she jumps on, whereas in the comic her legs would just stretch, and the way it's used in the comics is her stretchiness kind of like feeds into that teen awkwardness of like my body's changing, which you really don't get here.
Did they do it because of a budget thing, or did they do it because of creative choice, do you think?
I think it's we know we're just going to introduce Mr. Fantastic soon, and Captain Marvel's powers are more energy based, and so to avoid comparison to Mr. Fantastic and then make it closer to Mr. Marvel being energy based. The one thing that does interest me is in the comics her powers are it was part of an event, the Inhumans, Terrigen Mist, all that stuff. Totally glad we got rid of all that. Her power seems to be more specifically based on her personal family history. Way into that. That seems really cool.
Really cool. And I'm curious to explore that more. I think that DJ and I are kind of the wrong people to ask this question to, because neither of us were diehard comic fans of Miss Marvel before this. So we wouldn't be the ones who would be upset by this. But as somebody who was not a fan prior, I will say that I thought the utilization of her new powers was super cool. Like DJ just described with the platform thing. I was like, that's new.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to see that. You know what I just watched on The Flash for several years? Elongated Man. You know what I've seen a million times in comic book characters before? Elongated people.
Yeah.
You know, so even what's Doom Patrol girl's name?
Why am I blanking on it? Elastic Woman?
Elastic Girl?
Elastigirl? Well, because her name's close to Elastigirl from Incredibles that I confuse the two.
Yeah, well, you know who I'm talking about. Yes. Like, just seeing it, this platform thing, I was like, dope. And it seems a little harder to figure out, like, can you do this? Can you not? You know, I just really liked it. So I'm bummed for the fans who really wanted to see what they wanted to see, because they're the ones that deserve to see it. But for me, I was like, I think this is great.
Also, there's no spoilers, but there's a rescue sequence where she like uses the platforms, and it's a really good scene. It's like just a really
cool,
so good, and like
emotionally, and like I was super invested in that.
Same. And the way as a kid, she's trying to relate to this little bit younger kid and like get him, like she's heard superhero stories. And so she's trying to do her version of that. Great. It's just a cool sequence. It's a cool show.
Yeah. Like throwing out lines that are like, you know, a version of like, I'll save the day or whatever. That's
or then like, even like, what's how am I going to come, you know, what's a food you like? And you know what I mean? Like, you know, what do we, cause she's not confident. So she's trying to project. It's not like Captain Marvel swooping in and grabbing you where it's like, I've done this a million times. You're okay. Like she's trying to build up her own, like, no, this will be fine, I think. And I just want to mention the way we spend time in her culture with her family. Like there's a sequence in episode 2 where you get like a lowdown of like the cliques in the mosque she goes to. Great. Smart, cool, fleshes out the world, tells me a lot about the character in her world. Love it. Very, very excited to see the rest of the show.
Really into the show.
That's us. You can find me at DJ Talks Trash. You can find Roxy at Roxy Stryer. You can find this show everywhere that matters at Only Stupid Answers, but on Twitter.
Yank out the vowels from stupid.
And check out the podcast on Mondays, and also check out what we're into on Patreon. That's where we're going to be continuing our coverage on the show, patreon.com/Only Stupid Answers. So check that out, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.